What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. And with this video, we are jumping into Radiant Black issue number 2. Coming out of Image Comics, we are jumping into our indie comic weekends. And if you didn't catch issue number 1, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything that has been going on with this line. Written by Kyle Higgins, the artist Marcelo Costa, we are picking up with Nathan, who just recently found an alien artifact that allows him to become a superhero. But even with him being given this amazing gift, that doesn't negate the fact that he is still technically jobless and in a tremendous amount of debt. And so while he's trying to figure out what this alien artifact means, he's also trying to figure out his own life. Be sure to buy the comics, support the industry, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into issue number 2 of Radiant Black, we are picking up with Nathan making his way back home to his parents' house. Going inside, he is met by his father. Now, after the day Nathan has had, he wants nothing more than just laying down and going to sleep, trying to catch some Z's and figure out what to do next with everything that is going on in his life. But with it being early in the AM, his father is awake and he offers to make him some oatmeal for them to sit down and really just have a heart-to-heart, have a conversation about what Nathan is going to do next. And since returning back home, Nathan really hasn't divulged all the information to his father, hasn't let him know the crippling amount of debt that he finds himself in. But his father is also not a dumb man. He knows that if your son comes back home, it's usually not because they found financial success, but because they've hit a hard spot. They found themselves between a rock and a hard place. But this is really the first chance that they've had an opportunity to talk one-on-one. And more than anything, Nathan's father, he wants to know that he's okay, but he also wants to know, what is your plan? And Nathan tries to let him know that something great did fall in my lap, but it doesn't necessarily pay. And what he's talking about is the alien artifact, this new superhero aspect that he might go about. Now, of course, this doesn't pay, so his father suggests that he goes back to doing Drivr, the delivery service, much like Uber, much like DoorDash, or whatever you want to go with. And of course, Nathan, he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to do it because it's not really that much money, but at the end of the day, his father convinces him this is probably the best bet, at least till you get on your feet, at least till you figure out what you want to write. Because you want to be a writer, and though no one is currently paying you to be a writer, you need to go out there, you need to find a job, and you've already done Drivr before, so why don't you do it here? And he lets Nathan know that you are welcome in my home as long as you would like. But there are going to be rules, there are going to be stipulations that you have to live by. And so with Nathan heading off and going to bed, he wakes up the next morning, but he finds himself floating up in the air. This alien artifact somehow is activated while he was asleep. It was levitating him up in the air, absolutely freaking him out, with someone at the front door trying to wake him up, knocking on the door. He is panicking, trying to figure out how to turn this thing off. And as soon as he thinks it's gotta go away, this little alien artifact, it just disappears. Not really sure what's going on, not really sure how that happened. He brushes this off for the moment and goes to the front door to find 2 police officers waiting for him. His best friend also standing behind them because the police officers, they went to him first, trying to find out what happened last night. These are the 2 cops that stopped them after they had just found this alien artifact. Now, it wasn't hard for them to track them down. The simple fact they had gotten drunk at a bar just around the corner from where the whole incident taken place. We see Nathan's mother showing up, trying to figure out what is going on. The police officers, they end up covering for Nathan and saying that he was in fact a hero. He helped somebody get off the train tracks and save their life, and that they are here just to get some kind of official statement and they'll be on their way. And with his mother going inside, this is when they have the real conversation. The police officers asking, what the freak was that last night? What did you do? How did you do it? And are you working with the other one? Now at this point, Nathan has no idea what the police officers are talking about. But what is going on in Chicago? There is another individual with the same exact suit except red. And this person has been robbing banks all over Chicago. Now Nathan proclaiming he has nothing to do with this. He doesn't know the other one. He just found out about this last night. He has no idea how to even use this power. And with him being the only individual so far to be spotted with this power, the police officers let him know that he really could do a lot for his community. He could be helping people in a big drastic way. But Nathan lets them know that he is not working with anyone and he will consider trying to do more for his community now that he's found this power. But before anything else, he has to figure out how to use this power. He has no idea what it is, what it does. The police officer's letting him know that he needs to figure it out, and he needs to figure it out quick. And so him and his best friend, they sit down, they try to figure out what they're gonna do next. While Nathan is still trying to figure out how to use this object, recognizing that he can essentially will it into existence and out of existence. He can make it disappear simply by thinking it. But what they do know is that this guy in red, he appears to know how to use this power. He's been using it to rob banks all over the place. And so why not go ask him some questions? At the very least, you're gonna find out a little bit more about your powers, about your abilities, and maybe, just maybe, where this thing comes from. And so Nathan, he heads into the city. Heading into Chicago, he goes to do some Drivr and try to talk to people. Maybe someone has seen this guy in red. Maybe somebody knows where he might be. And so as he drives people around throughout the day, he just has conversations, talking to the people and trying to figure out, hey, maybe you know something, maybe you don't. That guy on the news robbing banks in red is pretty crazy. And for most of the day, this is not working out for him until he runs into one individual. And this man lets him know that before any of this robbery stuff started kicking off, he saw this red light flying through the sky, and it appeared that it was coming from a junkyard. And so with Nathan now having a little bit of information, having a trail to follow the clues, he brings out his alien artifact, and grabbing hold of it, we see him transformed into radiant black. And with his transformation, he goes to this junkyard. Going inside, he goes to investigate, and he sees the man in the red suit. Holding an engine block over his head, he goes to have a conversation with him. But the man in red, he doesn't want to talk in the slightest bit. Because as soon as Nathan brings up anything about the police, the guy in the red suit, he knocks him for a freaking loop. We see Radiant Black go flying off into the distance. And with him crash landing, it's not long before the man in red is right on top of him. Radiant Black not wanting to fight him, he goes to push him away, and we see that Radiant Black, he pushes him so hard, he goes flying through the building. But our red suited villain, he comes flying back in, and he starts laying down some haymakers on Radiant Black. With Radiant Black being just far too passive. He didn't come here for any kind of fight. And our man in red, he is more than willing to lay down the hate. And so with the man in red leaving him there beaten on the ground, Radiant Black quickly learns that the man took his car. Taking his car for a joyride, Nathan, he goes as fast as he can, flying beside the car, asking him, begging him to just pull over. That they got off on the wrong foot and they can figure out how to settle this without things getting out of hand, without things getting too crazy. But going over a bridge, the man in red, he takes the vehicle and he plunges it off the side. As it is about to fall into the river, Radiant Black is able to grab it with his powers. Levitating the car, he is trying with great effort to bring it back up, letting the man in red know that I had no intention of being your enemy, of fighting you, or us even crossing paths in the wrong way. But now things are gonna be different because you just threw my car over the edge and I didn't even provoke you in the slightest bit. With Radiant Black pushing him, and we see the man in red go flying, leaving two duffel bags behind. Radiant Black is able to get his car back onto land. And with it now back on land, he looks in these duffel bags, and what he finds is nothing but cash. And finding this money, he thinks to himself just for a second, I could take this money. I could take this money and nobody would know that I have it. He could pay off all his debt. He could take care of everything that he wants. But as soon as that thought comes into his mind, that is as fast as it leaves. Because he can't do it. His conscience simply won't let him. And so taking the bags, he delivers them to the 2 police officers, dropping them off, letting them know that he is going to be doing some kind of good for his community. And picking up later that evening or early morning, we see him sit down with his father, them having a conversation about what he's been doing, what's been going on. And though he technically lies about it, we can see that this is a real turning of the page for Nathan. Because not only is he figuring out his powers, not only is he figuring out what he is going to do with these powers, but he also made $200 with Drivr last night. Not even meaning to, not even having an inclination that he was making money, because he was investigating. He was going after the clues. And so it made him more efficient. It made him a better employee, while at the same time hunting down any evidence to this man in red. And what we are seeing is a new beginning for Nathan. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I am 100% on board with Radiant Black. Now, I waited quite a while to get into this comic. This comic came out probably a year ago with its issue number 1. And I believe they're up to issue number 12, maybe even 13 at this point. But I love the artwork in this. It is absolutely beautiful. The line work, the coloring, the stuff is really on point. And the story is really fantastic because it's just a regular, everyday person struggling with debt, doing the car driving service, just hating life, and running into an incredible power. You know, it's a classic tale, it's a classic story, but told in a more modern era. Something that is more relatable to a lot of people in 2022. And it really is nice to get away from all of the DC, from the Marvel, you know, jumping into Image, having Radiant Black, stories like this, Berserker, so on and so forth. It's really nice to break away from the regular comics that everybody loves and everybody's reading and everybody's buying. Now, you could say that this one is definitely up there. There's a lot of people that know about this comic. It was one of the most popular comics of 2021. So it's definitely a comic that is known by a lot of people. But I believe that this story has tons of potential, and I am very excited to see the limitations or the lack of limitations that Nathan's powers truly can manifest. And I'm excited to see where they're gonna go with this story, and I have to know, where the heck did this power come from? Let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. Don't spoil the fun for anybody in the comments. And if you have not yet, do me a favor, hit the sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. And until the next breakdown.